because there's just so much going on in the world. If you and I walk out of this podcast and we go online, there'll be 10 different things that weren't happening an hour ago that are happening now. And you go, I can't come up for breath because it's just like something. But there was this particular season, man, it was just felt like it was coming left, right and center. And I came home and Nick, my husband, he kind of de-stresses by watching like movies on the Navy SEALs, like watching, and there was this thing, and I didn't know I'm not American, so at first I didn't know what it was. He was watching this series on Hell Week. And it's like, and I didn't know that this existed, right? So it's really good Marines that are like really good at you got to be the best of the best, but you go into this 1 week where they try to break you down. I mean, psychologically, physically, you don't sleep, they're telling you really, they're knocking you down mentally, psychologically all the time. Whole deal is to break you down so that you break there and you don't break on the field, on the front lines. And then you got to ring the bell. That's the whole thing. If you're going to tap out, you're going to ring the bell. That's the whole goal. So I walk in, Nick's watching this show, and the Navy SEALs are jumping out of the helicopter into the ocean. They got to swim a mile and then do their thing, when they get. And I start crying, which is not common. And Nick looks at me and goes, what is going on? You're crying at Navy SEALs jumping out of helicopters. And I said to him, I think this is where I'm at. I said, I feel like, God's inviting us to another assignment. I mean, rescuing slaves or helping develop women or, doing what I do around the world. I kind of feel like we're on the front lines, and the enemy doesn't like any of it. Like he doesn't want people in captivity set free. I'm an evangelist. He doesn't want to see people find faith in Christ and, sort of helping to strengthen women. He's always not loved women. So I kind of go the big three: women, souls, and slaves. I'm not the enemy's favorite person. No. And so, so you're kind of feeling all of this. And I said, I feel like I'm jumping out of the helicopter and I know I can do it. I know, okay, this is the assignment, and I got the muscle memory. I'm strong enough. And I'm crying. And I said, but for the first time in 37 years of being a Christian, I don't know if I want to. And I'd never been there. I'd always been at but often, even to this day, I'm like, I don't know if I can. Like, I don't know, but I've never been at, I don't know if I want to, because I know the cost associated with doing it. And it was like, in my own way, I was languishing. I was just like, if I don't do anything stupid, I could pretty much cruise my way into eternity now. I got almost 4 decades of ministry behind me. I'm doing more than, a lot of women. It's kind of like, okay, she's done A21, she's done Propel, whatever. And if I just, keep my marriage together, my kids love me, stay on track.
Yeah.
I said to Nick, I go, the sad thing is though that there's so little discernment in the body that I could tap out in my heart, and as long as I don't do any of the big sins, nobody would really know. And I go, but Jesus would know. Jesus would know that I left it on the table, and Paul said, I run my race and finish my course. He didn't just say I run my race till I get a certain degree of whatever, notoriety, success, whatever, however you measure that. Eternity will measure things very differently. But, and I go, and Jesus will know that I stopped running, even though the world still may or may not, be applauding because there's people are getting rescued. I go, but I could tap out in my heart. And I think a lot of that came out of I got to go to people. You can flourish. And when people hit my age, and here's the thing, Lecrae, personally, the people that I personally know, most of them, that I personally know that maybe have fallen in the last 5 years, all of them have been, or most of them have been older than me. So you think you get to 60 and you can go into cruise control. And the fact is that the enemy is nothing if not patient. And he'll be like, I'll wait till you can have maximum impact. And my mentor said to me very early on in my early 20s, Chris, be really careful what you pray for, because as many people as God allows you to help, that's how many people you can hurt. And so the devil will wait until you can hurt the maximum amount of people. And I'm going to Nick at 60, if I thought I could go into cruise control now and kind of tap out in my heart. Number one, if I tap out in my heart and I don't flourish to the end, Caleb said, I'm 85. Yeah. He said to Joshua, I'm as young now as I was then. So there are so many people my generation that are like tapping out, and they're like Hezekiah, who did really well And then when he lets the Babylonians in and Isaiah comes and prophesies that, you're going to go into that 100, you're in the future, your sons will go into captivity. Hezekiah, after this phenomenal life, he responds to Isaiah and he says, the thing you have said is good, as long as this isn't going to affect me in my lifetime. And I said to Nick, I could tap out on a generation now and go, I could ride on the cloud of what I've done for 40 years and go, man, they can sort it out as long as this doesn't affect me. And that's what King Hezekiah did. And we got a whole generation my age doing that, going, you know what, it's too tough. And they're either not finishing well at all, or they're just tapping out and going, whoa, instead of being spiritual mothers and fathers. And that's why I think Paul said, teachers you have many, but fathers you don't. And I would just slip in, and spiritual mothers you don't.
Yeah.
And so, and we're having a whole bunch of spiritual mothers and fathers that are having a midlife crisis. And you see it in the world and you see it in the church. And you're all supposed to be. And then we're seeing them go, but that's because they didn't deal with stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the Lord's loves us too much to let us get away with it. And he's like, you know what, I love you and there's going to be wholeness. But again, it causes more damage because the more you've helped people and the more people you help, the more damage you can do.
You've said so many things today that are rocking me. Okay. I need you to slow down. I'm drinking from a fire hydrant. My history does not determine my destiny. I'm still holding on to that. Yeah. But so I didn't grow up in church. And when I saw church leaders make poor decisions, it did more than grieve me. I think I swung my pendulum too far.
Right.
And I found myself like almost like, what the heck is any of this real?
Yep.
And my wife, who grew up in church, this was par for the course for her. She wasn't like, she was like, it's a broken world. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm devastated on the other hand, just like, so for somebody who has seen it up close and personal, like you have, like, is it like how did it affect you? Because you're a leader, people, you're in it, you're interwoven. And I'm just like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, deeply painfully, because it was, this was decades of my life and decades of people that I love and care about. Again, the saving grace was that I'm connected to Jesus. And so that is the saving grace. I'm connected to Jesus and I love the church. And he loves the church. And so that meant that, okay, you've got to separate certain things. That doesn't mean ever that we deny or dismiss or diminish the reality of anything that happened, and that there are consequences of that. Sure. And there is great pain and there's fallout. But it's still, if you read your Bible, there is brokenness all the way through it. God does not sugarcoat anything, anywhere. And so I think when you have enough history with him, this is going to be, this is going to work out okay, but it's going to be deeply painful.
Yeah.
And
you're back to your hamstring again.
That's it. And I think more for me, I grieve more than anything else. I grieve what it could have been. So I think that, whether it's in a natural divorce relationship, oftentimes you're not people, just personal sort of pastoral care. It's when women in particular have talked to me, it's not so much even that they're going to miss the person, particularly if it's been a really bad marriage, but what they miss or what they're grieving is the dream of what it could have been. And I think when you see a church blow up or leaders falling, it's like, wow, this could have been so much more. And particularly, what I came from. Yeah. It's like I lived in a revival miracle for decades. Yeah. And so then to go, wow. And then the pastoral side of me is just like the shepherd side loves people. And, by the time then when a lot of stuff happened, I'm in my 50s. And so people were in my youth group and people were like, so you're like wanting to love on people and you're wanting to really help people see it's going to be okay. I think I went into mother mode. You know, it is going to, Jesus is faithful. I know that this isn't, and you've just got to be rock solid, steady and secure, and you got to let people have their process. And I think when they can see that you're stable through it, it's like, okay, there must be like a real God here somewhere. This thing has got to be real. For me, though, and then I needed a place. I needed to really, and you know, in and out of my life, I've regularly gone to a therapist.
Yeah.
So for me, again, if I'm not careful, it's a lot less. You're pressing on that wound. So in my early 20s, say when this would have happened, I had no place to process it. It was like the gaping wound that I had that was just starting to heal. My mother wounds, my attachment wounds, my abandonment, my rejection, my, you know, the abusers that lied to everyone it triggers all of that. Like you're going, is this all like a joke here? Like, is this all a setup for something else? Because I lived in that through growing up. People would come into my house under the guise of one thing and another thing would be going on. So suddenly you go, I don't need to go to the church house for this to be happening. You know, so you're imagine. Like, so you've got the reality of this is happening there. And then just people letting you down. And then that's going to trigger the attachment stuff or the abandonment stuff or the rejection stuff. Like it's all there. And so you come into the family of God and then you start, all of those things came. So when it first did, it was like when I had a wound, that thing would press. And because that wound wasn't totally healed, the toxicity, and I think we need to have grace with people. People are at varying degrees of their healing process. So then if a leader falls, a church blows up, something happens. Okay, if it's still early days for a lot of people, it's like you've just ripped that whole stitching off that wound. And so you're going, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're saying that or doing that, or they want to burn down the whole house. Well, a lot of that is, that wound's only just beginning to heal. Like, so that it's just gaping. That thing is gaping over everyone. But the more healed it gets and the more cleaned up it gets, like now you can press things. You can press my knee. There's scars, like my knee has got scars, but you can pretty much, it's, you know, people can fall and bash it. It's like, it's not going to, I got scars from when that thing really cut me and it cut me. And when that first got cut, man, it was a gaping wound. So it stunk. It was pussy. Sorry for the, you know, but it was, and I think some of what we've seen in the last 10 years, because we've had a lot of very visible failures from, and there isn't one stream of the church that hasn't been impacted.
Absolutely.
So like, sometimes I think people like are pointing the finger. Like, I wouldn't be pointing anyway because God is cleaning house across every denomination and every stream.
A lot of times it's the most prominent or the visible.
But so it's like, every stream, every denomination. I mean, I'm across the breadth of the church all over the world. So it is everybody. The Lord is cleaning house. And so you go in the midst of that, at wherever you are in your walk, you can have a different effect, because for some people it's going to cut them open. And if it's only just a fresh wound, they've just come out of something. This thing is going to just and we've seen a lot of that. And you've got to have a bit of mercy, because, and then you've got others where it's like, oh, they're feeling the sting of it because that thing's not totally healed yet. But the stitching is taken, like they're not giving up on Jesus. The stitching, the metaphors, I'm taking it a long way, but you know, it's taken, but it hurts. And then, you know, by the time hopefully you've gotten to my places, the scarring's there. So I'm going, oh, no, I can remember all of that. It's there, but it's not going to take me out. And pretty much you're not going to feel toxicity come out of it. And so hopefully I'm going to be able to respond out of wisdom and not out of wounding.
I mean, you're doing it now.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally,
Okay.
I'm like, because I was definitely the gaping wound.
Yeah.
I had expectations. I had father wounds. I had trauma. I didn't grow up in the church. The church was the safe place for me.
Yeah.
And then when I see fallout or lack of empathy, then I'm like, ah.
Yes.
And I'm hearing you talk about it so clearly and with such eloquent wisdom.
Oh, okay.
To where now I think I sit, you know, I'm probably 10 years removed from that experience personally, but now I sit in a place where I'm like, the person who's like, I feel that. I'm not, but listen, guys, it's gonna be okay. Yeah. You know, so, and yes, and I have friends who, when they, you know, they were like, oh, I saw what happened to Hillsong Church. I'm done with church. It's over. I'm like, no, God is still on the throne.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's wisdom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I pray so. I think we need to be operating in wisdom now because there's a lot of, we are hurting and there is a lot of woundedness. And so you've just got to have an ear to what it is. And God will get us through. I really think it has been a great mercy. All of this reckoning, as difficult as it is, it's been a mercy because I still think we're living in the greatest days. If we believe in the promises of God and we really read to the end of the book and we really, not that, I'm thinking of the Bible. He's holding up the book, but I'm like,
she's still flourishing.
No, I'm talking about, but if we read, we truly do, our hope is in Revelation. So we know from 2 Timothy that what is going to happen in these days? Will people be lovers of selves and lovers of money? And will there be all the things that in the list? And yes, we're seeing it work out. And so I don't want us to like get less shocked because it ought to shock us and it ought to grieve us. But perhaps our compassion and our understanding, if we let it drive us to Jesus, even if for a minute we need to leave the institution or the brand or the structure, but if it drives us to Jesus, it's going to be okay.